Jack, great to see you. Look, we got to start with a negative here, and you breaking the lockdown rules back in March. What would you like to say about that?
It's not something that I obviously look fondly on. At the time, right away, that I knew that I made a mistake. But sometimes, it's difficult for us as footballers, even though we are role models and celebrities and like footballers, like I said, we all make mistakes. And obviously at the time that I knew that I made a mistake, I tried to make amends straight away by obviously coming out and doing a public apology. I didn't want to hide behind a club statement, so I come out and apologise myself. And then I tried to do stuff for obviously for the NHS and for certain charities. I made a big donation myself to the NHS, and then I also raffled off my shirt, which I scored the winning goal against Blues in, which I'm sure everyone knows what game I mean there. But obviously, like I said, it's something that I don't look back on with pride, but I move on, and like I said, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I remember that game very well indeed, the Birmingham game, where a fan came behind it and hit you, and you scored the win. Did you like?
It's actually all right. I've always said to everyone since they wanted us to come back in and start playing. I was the first back in the training ground. I was just desperate to get back. I know there's been a few people that haven't been so confident in coming back, which I totally understand why. But I was just the complete opposite. I knew that we were going back into a safe workplace, and since we've been there, everything's been great. The testing's been spot on. We just go in, and then we all obviously have a certain time in the car park to go and do your testing, and you just get I'm not too sure what they're called, but they go to your back of your throat in 5 different places, and then they also put one up your nose as well. It's obviously not the nicest feeling. It makes you obviously gag a little bit and sneeze, but obviously it's something that we need to do at the moment. And then we're also getting temperature tested every day, so it's good that they're staying on these type of things.
Jack, you're a local lad. You're the captain of the club. There's huge responsibility on your shoulders, if it seems to me, to try and keep Villa in the Premier League. How is that for you in and around the city? Obviously, you mentioned the situation off the pitch, but is it difficult as a local lad with people seeing you as the man to keep Villa in the Premier League?
No, not really. I don't want to say this in like a bit of a arrogant way, but I embrace it. I love the fact that it's like that, if I'm honest. Like I says, in and around the actual city, I don't actually leave my house much. But I, like you says, being a local lad and being captain of the club, I absolutely love it, and I try and take it in my stride, which I think I have done this season.
Also, Jack, it looks like this situation that we're in now with the season stopping and coming back, a lot of injured players are coming back. How big's it for you to get John McGinn back at Aston Villa? Because I think he was certainly one of the top players in your team before he got his injury.
Oh, he's going to be massive. I think he was probably one of the top players in the league, if I'm honest, before he got injured. I even spoke to players from other clubs, and they were saying, like, I couldn't believe how good he was. And I think he's one of them players, that you don't realise or don't appreciate him enough until you actually play with him. And everyone will say that in our changing room, but it'll just be massive. His legs in midfield, I feel like that's what we've lost since he's been injured. And obviously he has a certain type of way about himself, and he has class as well. And also in the actual changing room, he's a big influence in the changing room, a very popular figure. So that'll all be massive to have him back.
Jack, what's the current status in terms of the dressing room? Have all the players returned to training and comfortable with it?
Yeah, everyone's returned. Everyone's comfortable. Like I said, I think everyone in our team is in the same situation as me. We've come back and everything that's been put on for us to do has been top notch. All the testing, all the training, and everything. I know it's only been since Monday that we could have done contact training, but even since then, everything's been brilliant. It's obviously been tough as well. But yeah, everyone's come back at the moment, apart from obviously a few of the lads that are injured. Big Wesley's still in Brazil at the moment, but hopefully he'll be coming back soon and continuing his rehab.
I've just seen you've apologised, obviously, for what happened earlier in lockdown. I've seen Phil Foden this morning in the newspapers for simply having a picture at the weekend with somebody being criticised and for not socially distancing. I find it interesting that footballers are held to a higher standard than the politicians who run this country. But what do you and your teammates in the dressing room think about what is happening at this moment in time and the way in which footballers are portrayed over potentially, like, say, politicians and others?
It's obviously tough, isn't it? I answered a question yesterday, actually, to someone saying, I don't know what it is that goes on in the media about us as footballers. But, like you says, it's obviously difficult for us. And I know we are role models. And I know, as myself, I'm a big role model to, younger children especially. And we need to obviously watch what we're doing. But yeah, obviously it's tough, and like I says, we just gotta try and do our best I can to obviously behave in a respectable manner, really.
In terms of, obviously, now you've got a huge couple of months coming up. You obviously have speculation that you'll be aware of about your own future, but I think obviously you'll be concentrating completely on Aston Villa at this moment in time. I know Jamie asked you before about the responsibility that you feel, but in terms of what you personally have to deliver, do you feel now this is the moment where you do, if you like, mature and deliver the sort of best performances of your career in this next couple of months?
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously everyone's going to be watching these games on TV as soon as the Premier League starts back, and that's what I feel like myself thrives off. The big games that everyone's watching, and like you says, we have 10 games left, 10 very important games, and I think the first one will probably be the most important. If we end up, somehow winning the first game against Sheffield United at home, instantly, it takes us out of the bottom three. But I think, everyone knows how much of a tough running we have at the moment. But, like I says, we're all confident in there. We've all come back as fit as ever, really. And I was only speaking to the manager yesterday about how fit everyone's looking. And like you touched on earlier about John McGinn coming back, that's just going to be a massive boost for everyone in the changing room and the whole club.
Jack, we've just seen the games from now to the end of the season. Sheffield United game at home is the one game in hand. And you're saying, and Tyrone Mings said about how important it is to get out of the relegation zone. You're clearly working on the physical and the tactical side. Are you working on the mental side too, in terms of, what it's like at the start of pre-season or the start of the season? You need 3 or 4 games to kind of really feel up to speed. You're straight into a relegation battle here, aren't you? You can't just ease yourself gently into this.
Yeah, no, you're bang on. That was the same as me actually this season. I probably didn't start the season as well as I wanted to. It took me, a while to get up to the speed of things, and it probably took a lot of our players the same. A lot of players coming from abroad. But yeah, like you said, we're going straight into a relegation battle, but we're all focused for that and we're all ready. The past 5-6 weeks, we've been having Zoom calls about twice a week, really. And, that's been about everything. It's been about the tactical side of things, but it's also been about, like you says, the mental side of things. And then recently, we've been working on stuff in training that probably we haven't been so good at this season. I'm sure you guys would know what I'm on about. For example, like set pieces, we haven't been good attacking set pieces or defending set pieces this season, so we've been working on a lot of stuff that we need to improve on.
Jack, your club and a few others... Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Go on, Gaz.
Thank you. If there's one player that you could look at in the Premier League that's playing currently that you would like to be in 3 years' time in terms of what...
No, I just love him. I think he's unbelievable, and I've said it many times this season. I try and probably base my game on him a little bit, especially when I play as a number 8. I know I've been changing changing positions a lot this season, but I think De Bruyne has absolutely everything. I think he has that many stuff. He don't get enough credit for some of the stuff that with the likes of
for Man City and around the world. But I think if you think of the England team as well, I think it always feels like we're still looking for that type of player in the England midfield. The form you were in this season, obviously we know the European Championship's being moved now, but do you think that was sort of like the next step? It felt to me like you were going to be in the next England squad, going to really push for that squad in the European Championships.
I was desperate to. That was probably my only regret this season, but it's not really a regret because it weren't my fault that this pandemic happened. But that is what I was desperate to do, and achieve. I was desperate to get into that England side, and only God knows, whether I was actually gonna make the squad at the end of March. But like you said, that was my aim, to get into the Euro squad for the end of the season, and that was my aim from the start of the season. I knew that if I played to the best of my ability, I knew that I could have got into that squad. But all I can do now, is carry on playing well and carry on improving, and hopefully, next time the England games come around, I'll be in with a shout.
And you've got another year to get into the Euros as well, Jack. I mean, look, just taking it back to the here and now as well, and looking at Villa, it's interesting what's happening in Germany at the moment. Home advantage doesn't seem to be home advantage. Now, you won 70% almost of your points have come at home, and you come across as a player who gets inspired by 40,000 people. You touch the ball, they get on their feet, and you play off that. Have you thought about how you're going to deal with that and still be the kind of main man and the main dribbler, which clearly you are, not just in your team, but in the Premier League as well?
I've obviously thought about it a little bit. I think everyone has. In the Premier League, it's going to be so much different. I've been watching all the Bundesliga games at the moment, and it is obviously different, without fans. I think football isn't the same without fans. But for me personally, like I said, I was just desperate to get back playing, and I would have done that whether it was with fans or without. And like you said, it's going to be tough. Obviously, us at Villa, we've probably got most of our points this season from our home games, and I feel like everyone plays better at Villa Park with the crowd behind us. But it's going to be different. But in the meantime, before our first game, I'm sure we'll get to the ground. Hopefully, I'm not sure if this has been set up yet, but have a game behind closed doors or inter-house games to try and get used to it, and try and get the foreign lads especially used to it, because it's going to be really different for them. I mean, myself personally, I've done it in reserve games, youth team games where you've played at Villa Park with no one there. We'll probably have to get used to that in the next 2 weeks. I'm sure we will.